right into this. What do I do when plans change? This is today's topic. Welcome to Live with Ms. Steph. Hi, I'm Stephanie E. Farmer, founder and executive director of Triple F Empowerment Inc. We inspire, empower, and encourage young people to pursue education and careers in the STEAM fields. We do that through camp, classes, community, and consulting. So, what do I do when plans change? First of all, I acknowledge, especially for those who are watching outside of New York City, you might not be used to quite the level and the types of noises that you're hearing in some of my videos. Yesterday's video, case in point, I was getting off of the train and there was a cacophony, a cacophony, as it were, of sirens and bus noises and kids playing and frolicking and people talking. There was a lot of noise. And so today is no different because we're here. I'm still in New York City. Just because I'm in my apartment does not mean that all of a sudden New York City becomes quiet. So those of us who live here know that it's a thing. So let's continue, or rather get further into our topic. I'll say it again. What do I do when plans change? The traveling science teacher is one of the services that we provide through the Triple F Empowerment Inc. umbrella. We go out and provide science club in various forms, right? And specifically, traveling science teacher, I go in and I teach my curriculum that I've designed over the years and that I adjust based off of what families, children, and the school leadership indicates I need to adjust, right? Just based off of kind of what folks are needing and all that type of stuff, which shifts slightly each year. There's some basic things that I know the children need to be able to do because as a scientist, I am, again, I've said this in a few videos back, I'm a teaching scientist, meaning I have a science degree and I teach that expertise, those skills, that mindset, the way of being, all that stuff. And so I go into locations, but the school year involves what? People, and it involves other things, right? So there are other things that locations are trying to get done. Case in point, today, Wednesday, when there's not a break, you would not see me. I would not be filming. I would not be coming to say hello to you from my desk. No, I would be in a school. There's a school that I normally have at this time. There's a set of children that normally see me right now. So what do I do when plans change? First of all, I know plans change because I communicate. So that's one of the first things so that's another C, right? We have our 4 C's that we do: camp, classes, community, and consulting. Within those 4 C's, in particular, community and consulting and classes, right? Communicating, well, camp too, all those things you need to be able to communicate. So as I've shared with you before, there's another educator. There's people that I interact with at each location, but that specific location, there's another educator that I'm in the room with, which all of my sites are like that, just simply because of the nature of the work that I'm doing and all that type of stuff. I'm typically not in the room by myself with students for traveling science teacher. And so actually comment down below for those of you who do push in and kind of talk about what that's like, especially if you're a vendor. Now, if you're a specials teacher, you are typically in the room by yourself. And I've been a special teacher before. And I do function as a special teacher at some of the locations, but the locations during the school day, I function more as a vendor and a vendor slash contractor slash consultant. And so typically somebody's in the room with me. But yeah, so that particular person, again, we communicate regularly. And so because of that, we had already been discussing, oh, well, what's going to happen during the testing? Do you know? So we've been chit-chatting. So that's the first thing. What do I do? I plan in advance for that by communicating respectfully. Again, if this person is watching, I hope that you can comment down below and say whether or not I'm communicating in ways that are functional. But I mean, I know myself. I know I don't like talk to people crazy. So that being said, one of the things is that I knew I had been asking around at both of my sites that do testing. And so let me back up a little bit. When it comes to communication, it's about asking the right question, not just questions, right? Scientists, we like questions. It's a thing. Legit, our whole process is based off of starting with a question and then going from there, right? So asking questions as far as not only what a site needs, but I've learned over the years, this is the expertise that comes with me when you have me come to your site. I also have experience, and so I know the questions to ask. At the beginning of the school year, I asked for a calendar. I've learned to do that as well. And even for locations that are like, we follow the DOE calendar, I usually go, okay, cool. And then I start to be more specific. I specifically ask them, I'm like, okay, I hear you. Do you have any adjustments to that calendar that y'all do? Okay. The reason I ask that is because I've learned in the past that we follow the DOE calendar is not typically the full story. That gives you like the rough sketch. You know, the kind of when breaks are and all that type of stuff. But maybe you don't know when PDs are, because a PD makes a difference. And for folks who are not in education, PD meaning professional development, meaning training days, okay? Training days when there aren't students there, when teachers are there, but there aren't students there. And so as traveling science teacher, I'm going in for the students. And so if there's not going to be kids there that day, I need to know that. And I need to know in advance. I don't need to arrive there. Yes, it's happened to me once or twice. Even at schools who love me, like things just happen. It's a lot of moving parts for a building leader to manage. Okay? So communication. You keep in communication with folks. You ask the right questions. So this is a tips video, by the way, in case you were wondering. Ask the right questions. So you don't just want to know the calendar. You want to know any adjustments. Say they tell you, oh, we're just following DOE calendar. That's nice and all. You want to know if there are any adjustments, because all schools have some adjustment to that calendar, even if it's just like one random day in the school year. What adjustment do you have? Are you doing dismissal slightly early on one day? Also, it matters if, say, they want you to maybe change days 1 week. Maybe you go on Wednesday all year, but they say, hey, today, you know what? You can't come on Wednesday, but maybe you can come on another day for just this week. We'll tell all the teachers, and that's the other thing, is don't necessarily presume that they are going to tell the teachers, just simply because, again, stuff happens, people get busy, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. So that's why you need to be able to, again, tips and tricks, talking to vendors now, you need to be able to say, hey, so-and-so, you need to be able to communicate with everybody. So when I say communication, it's not just your one point person that has signed the contract or is the person that is determined when you're coming, because those might not even be the same people. Learn that too. Okay. I have one school that I am at. I communicate with 7 different people to make that situation flow properly. And on some days it's 10. Okay? Not days, rather. In some instances it's actually more like 10 people that I need to communicate with to make that situation happen. Okay? So again, communication, asking not only at the beginning of the contract for a school calendar, but also are there adjustments that you tend to do at certain times of year. Okay? Then when it gets into testing, if you know, right, New York State does their testing. I know when testing is. March, April, Mayish. So as things get closer, which is what's happening today at that school, they are testing the grades that I teach. Okay? That I provide services for, that I support them with. Whatever wording you want to use. So I, as I started to tell y'all, have been in communication with, my fellow, my essentially co-teacher there is basically how we have kind of determined that it works best, the process and method that works best for us. So we essentially do a co-teaching kind of style. And again, I try to communicate as much as possible. And also that person does the same for me. And they were like, hey, like before we even went on break, they were like, guess what? Here's the testing schedule. And so I took a picture of that. And then I reached out this morning. I didn't assume that they didn't want me to come because you never know. Sometimes, even if there's testing happening, sometimes they want you to still, they, as in whomever you're interacting with, wants you to still come to the site. Maybe you're, especially if you're a sports thing or like an extra or like an art thing or something that where the children will get a release and be able to run around and have a good time, they may really, really, when it comes to testing, really, really need you to be on site. Or if you work with some of the non-testing grades, especially here in New York City, if you work with some of the non-testing grades, they may absolutely not want you to come because your students might not even be on site. There are some schools that actually take their younger students out on trips during testing. Okay? Back to communication again. You don't know that unless you communicate. And so today's big tip, communicate. What do I do when things do not go as planned, meaning the long-term plan? I communicate. Another thing happened today, but the established line of communication you see is the through line, makes it easier, right? So I reached out to everybody, my quote unquote my buddy that's there, as well as the school leader, the person who called me in. Hey, and of course I wrote this in a much more professional way, but for our purposes, I'm gonna say it this way. I hear there's testing today. What would you all like to do for a club? You never know. Don't assume. So that is tip 2. Not only communicate, but do not assume, and clearly write what you think is going to happen. Okay? Leader wrote back what I expected. We don't need you to come today. The person totally said it, nicer. I'm not trying to give shade or anything. They totally said it in an appropriate, professional, respectful way and all that kind of stuff. Not today, Miss Steph. Okay? It's fine. Okay, cool. Another piece of, so again, what do I do when things don't go as planned? You just make a new plan. Lines of communication are open. We make up a new plan that's appropriate for the children and appropriate for what's happening that day. Okay? So that's one thing. Another thing happened today. Very small change of plans. And so which is actually why I'm going to say it. And you're going to notice a through line, and at the end, I'll say the major thing that you just have to have. Okay? Major skill that you got to have as a vendor, contractor, consultant, whatever you want to call yourself. this skill you have to have. Not just skill, it's a practice that I have. It's a way of being. It's a thing that I do with all of my sight. So, anywho, like I said, this is a very, very small thing, in my opinion, that happened. So, I got to the site, a whole nother site, one site I actually went to this morning. Get there, as usual, do, la 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 la. Two things happened. One group, because remember we had a break last week, so we're all trying to get ourselves back to kind of just the routine and getting all the kids back to the routine, because even 1 week of break can throw routine into chaos. And this is not what was happening. Usually when I arrive at this particular location, they are typically doing morning circle, and therefore the transition to me is very easy. This is not what they were doing. They were already at centers, this particular group. And so, like I said, two things happened at this one location, because I actually had 2 classes at this one location. Y'all know I told you I'll be out and about. There's 7 different places I go to, plus then there's multiple classes at 3 of the sites. Okay. So yeah, so I get there, and like I said, they weren't like ready. And then the time, even though I know the start time, even though we've agreed, my point is you have to give people grace. I mean, you don't have to, but you should. Okay, so that's the next tip. Give folks grace. If people get thrown off a little bit with the schedule and they like maybe forget the schedule, that's very different from we don't want you there. So that's my thing I'm telling you, especially newer people who are just getting started. There's ways that we can interpret things that are just not the case. Give them grace. Oops. Right. You started 9:45, not 10 o'clock. Yes. Your room, 9:45. And then it's like, wait a minute. It's 9:45 now. Sorry, Miss Stephanie. We'll clean up. When you approach that with grace, that's the response. And it gets done. It's like, okay, cool. We're ready. Quick turnover. The kids were ready. Another thing that happened, same center, they decided to take, it's nice and sunny and beautiful out here today. If y'all are not in New York City, just FYI. It's gorgeous today. In addition to it being gorgeous, anybody who struggles with allergies on any level is having challenges because it is just, spring is like, hi! And spring comes with pollen in all shapes and forms, pollen and dust and all kinds of stuff. So then the second group that I see at this site, they're like, oh, you 10:15 or 10:30? 10:30. They needed a reminder. They knew I was coming, but they just needed a reminder of when. Again, grace. And they then left out and went to the park just for a short period of time. Because, I mean, it's gorgeous outside. The more gross motor play that children get, it developmentally, it really makes such a difference. It really helps children to have gross motor play. And as someone who didn't have a lot of it as a child, I'm telling you now, there's so many things that are challenges now for me in my body and just my mindset because I didn't connect as well with physical free, with free play. I can craft and sit and craft. That was encouraged a lot in me as a child, and so that's an easy thing for me to do. Which kind of goes back to why I do what I do, and the way I do it and all that type of stuff. But yes, physical play was just not something I was necessarily as encouraged to do as much as my brother was. But that's neither here nor there, and we don't have time for all that. My point is, they went outside. They got back like 3 minutes later. Y'all, if you have a class that comes in a few minutes late, hi and keep it moving. This is not a time to be upset. Also, I knew they were going to the park, so I knew where they were at, right? I knew where they were at. And I absolutely would not have told them to not go just because they might be late for my class. And also, this is little kids, you know? So, communication, grace. Okay? Last point that I'll make, because I really don't want this video to be too much longer. Other tip: cultivate healthy relationship with as many people at your locations. Wow, it's a lot of siren just now. As possible. So I'm going to say that again because there was all that siren that was going by. Cultivate healthy relationship. Notice how I didn't say close or what. Healthy relationship with as many people at each location as possible, especially if you're traveling around. I needed something today. I had run out of copy. I only needed like 2 copies because of the relationship I have at the place. I can walk up to the copy machine. Hey, can I just need 2 copies. There's a school I don't even ask. I just, hi, and I just walk in and just start making copies because that's the understanding, and I have cultivated a relationship not just with the people I interact directly with every day, but with the school, the secretary, and all that type of stuff, because there's pieces of equipment you're going to need. Even if you're like me and you come with everything, and I say it that way on purpose, you come with everything, there's something you're going to forget one day. I had a situation one time where, of all things, I didn't check. I have a process where I not only plan, but I like pack the bag typically the night before, and I get everything situated in the apartment, as you guys know, and I'm able to like pull stuff. I had a situation one time where I literally had to profusely and just be humble and apologize and say, I don't have the equipment. And it was an electricity project. So it wasn't something to where I could just have grabbed, like gone to the corner store. I legit had to come all the way back home. I mean, praise God, I do. Basically, the majority of stuff, except for, like I said, Tuesday mornings is further uptown. And it's not in the neighborhood of Harlem, but most of my centers are in Harlem. And this particular center is one of the centers that was super close to me. I had to just humbly say, I did not do my cross check, which is also bonus suggestion. Always check. I don't care how many times you already checked it. I don't care if you thought that you had whatever yada yada in your bag. Always triple check your equipment. Even if it's whatever special pen you want to make sure you have with you for those of you who don't have like specialized science stuff like I do. I had to be humble and come home and grab that bag. I notified the director. The director was like, okay, cool. That's relationship. That's grace. That's favor. That's nothing to do with well, yes, with the quality of what I do, but had I not developed a relationship of open communication and kindness and all that type of stuff, it would not have been reacted to the same way. And if I wasn't just normally on it all the time, and if the kids didn't like the stuff, right? So you still have to have your other stuff in point. But definitely relationship and positive relationship with the staff, with the people I directly needed to interact with, and with director and school. But yeah, I had to come home to come get this stuff. It happens. And had I spent time freaking out, that also would have like just not been. You make decisions and keep it moving and do. Can y'all wait a little bit? I kid you not, I live super close. I'm going to go. I know exactly. That's the other thing is I had actually packed the stuff. I just didn't put it in my bag. I had it in another bag. And I knew exactly where it was. And I was like, kid you not, didn't check the whole way there. Had I done that, I would have been all right. But as soon as I got there, I was like, I don't have all this stuff. Relationship. Today I get an email. The time for something is changing because of the relationship, because of the open communication, all of those things, because of the grace that I've shown previously and the grace that has been shown to me. I am able to say, hey, no, I cannot come to the event when y'all have it scheduled. Okay, cool. Sounds good and stuff. Maybe, come when when you can come. That's relationship. That's I previously have discussed. I've communicated all those types of things. And so it's not a surprise. We're still going to get it done for the kids. The community is still going to get what they want. All those different things. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate y'all. What do I do when things don't go as planned? I communicate. I show respect. I lean on the relationships that have been cultivated. I show grace just as I request grace. And I double check my stuff. What have I done and what do I need to do and what can I do? There's also, some other skills of pivoting and all that type of stuff, which is I imagine another live. But that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching Live with Ms. Steph, y'all. What do I do when things don't go as planned? Communicate, 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 and of course shows grace. All right. Thank you. Have an absolutely wonderful day. Uh-oh.